Okay, so back to the show. This is show and tell, the meat and potatoes of our podcast. This segment, and I talked about it a little bit earlier, Art, when we didn't have you on, but we do have you on now. I was saying that Art Coley, CEO of CGI Franchise, Art is filled with a wealth of information, and Leanne and I are both really excited to have you on. But I'd love for you to give a little introduction of yourself, Art.
Wow. Well, thank you, Michael, Leanne. Thank you for having me on. I don't know how much I know. I think more of it comes from all the mistakes that I've made over the years, 30 years plus in franchising. But, we all know what that's about, right? Sometimes the franchisees, when they come into a brand, they think they're getting um, everything to do right. And sometimes they forget that the franchisor has just made all the mistakes for them, gotten down to the sweet spot. Uh, I'm a franchise geek. I'm a nut. I mean, sometimes I wake up in the morning and wonder, how I actually get paid for this? Because I love what I do. I think we have an honor and a something special that we get to work with people every day who are thinking about changing their lives through small business ownership in a franchise. I think that's something we should all be proud of. We should also, that with that comes a lot of commitment. That means people are trusting us, and all of those types of beliefs and faith about what franchising really is. Again, it's about people wanting to take a shot at small business ownership and increasing their chances of maybe making it with a good system. Really comes back and starts in 1993. I was a freelance writer for a business magazine in Houston. And I'd found a book that I was doing a lot of book reviews on local and national business people. One of them, Bud Hadfield, the founder of Quick Copy Printing, had written a book called Wealth Within Reach. At that time, Quick Copy Printing had about 2,000 locations in 24 countries. And I got a 30-minute interview with him. Went out to his 160-acre complex in Northwest Houston. And our 30-minute interview turned into a couple hours, and 90 days later, I was working for him and now in the franchise industry. Like so many of us, we stumble into this industry. So my roots go back. I mean, Bud's in the Hall of Fame, the IFA Hall of Fame. And I was just so lucky to be around him and then the other people coming in and out of that complex. So I got a very early education in franchising. And what I would say was doing it right, doing it from the people that really kind of pioneered business format franchising. And that led to me later on being president of one of his brands, Computer Explorers. I was vice president of the ICED. His company that evolved out of that was it was really one of the early platform brands, something we see so common today. And I mean, Bud saw it and was doing it before. I mean, Neighborly, formerly Dwyer Group, called him up to say, "Hey, talk to us about how you're doing multiple brands." He was a pioneer, and if anybody on this listening knows Bud Hadfield, you're going to know what I'm talking about. I mean, this guy is off the scales on visionary and entrepreneur. So I got to be in the seat for those early days of seeing things that only now are becoming very common, and I mean, it feel like not a big deal. And I got to be back there on the not causing it, but getting to witness and be on a front row seat of these things happening in franchising. I'm so grateful for that. I was head of all of his recruitment. So my first leadership job in recruitment was executive vice president of ICED. It was 7 brands. I didn't even know how lucky I was get the experience of managing multiple sales teams. When I left ICED, I went to Alpha Graphics in 2007 and relocated my family from Houston to Salt Lake City. We ended up growing that brand to about a $300 million system, about 250 locations. I was the chief development officer to start out with. And after an equity event or a private equity bought the majority stake in the company, I became the CEO. And then later in 2014, we sold that company to a publicly traded company. And Michael and Leanne, that's what led me. My wife let us know that we were moving back to our hometown of Temple, Texas, about an hour north of Austin. she let me know that I was more than welcome to join her, but she was going whether I wanted to or not. Uh, the wisdom of your spouse, pay attention to it, because my parents were here. Her parents or my parents had passed since we moved back in 2014. And yeah, I'm glad I listened to my wife and we came back here. And then that led to us starting this thing called CGI Franchise and ROS. I thought maybe we'd have 2 or 3 brands. I would do it for 2 or 3 years. What do they say when you're an ex CEO of a brand and you're not for sure what to do? You go into consulting. you
Yes.
know, and so and then apparently what we did was making a little bit of difference, and it was more than 3 or 4 brands. We've had close to 40 brands as clients. We currently have about 20 brands today. We're working with small brands that are startups and brands that have global operations all over the world, and a lot of that is our core thing is that we really focus on data and metrics. We start with that first, and I'm incredibly grateful to be in this industry and get to do what I do every day.
It's fantastic. So tell us just a little bit about CGI franchise. Like what services how do you help those brands, those 40 plus brands?
Yeah, people come to us because they're having issues with their franchise recruitment. They're wanting to do better with franchise results. And oftentimes, Leanne, you'll appreciate this. They usually come to us and say, do y'all do lead gen? Because we have a lead gen problem. The quality of our leads are bad. We, we usually dispel that and show them, yeah, you might have some lead generation problems, but you have bigger sales problems. You have conversion ratio issues. Whoever you're using as a marketing company, a lot of times they appreciate us because they get to keep their client, because we show the brand that, yeah, you're looking for a silver bullet. You think changing sources is going to solve all your problems, and maybe there's some tweaks that need to be there. But so we work with, when our brands come on with us, the typically a brand works with us for years. There's not much churn in our client group. We've been in business now 10 years. I think the total number of clients we've worked with is maybe 50 or less. So you can kind of run the math. I think if we're working with 20 today, then there's not a lot of annual work. So our business development or sales team is pretty small. I mean, it's me, you know. We have a team of 8 people. We have a couple that work on data analysts. That's all they do is crank and crunch numbers every day, all day for our brands. We're trying to show and influence them through numbers first. So set the emotion and the qualitative stuff to the side. Focus on the quantitative piece. We have ROS Academy, which includes complete tracks of education and training for coordinators for franchise sales departments, appointment setters, recruiters or development directors, the people that are actually taking candidates through the steps in the process. We also have training tracks, manuals for managers of recruitment. We call them managers, whatever their title. The title is different from brand to brand, but the people that are in the weeds working with the recruiters, trying to pay attention to lead generation, pay attention to their appointment setting, their conversion ratios. And then we have a full track for what we call the executive sponsors, which are usually the CEOs, chief development officers, sometimes a COO, sometimes a CFO will be in charge for recruitment for a while, especially when there's a lot of money concerns with the investment and not getting the return on it. So we have a full track that does that. And then Leanne and Michael, we provide simple stuff like we have a toolbox for if you need samples and templates for candidate packets for Discovery Day, um, uh, sheets and samples for award letters. We help with the FDD process when that comes around every year. We help with annual planning as it relates to recruiting and trying to tie the two together, the vision of the brand over the next 3 to 5 years to what you're actually budgeting and doing in franchise recruitment over the next 12 months. And I mean, we're not perfect and we're striving to get it better, but I think our team does a pretty good job. And I think the fact that the data of our brands that work with us, hard evidence, not feelings, not emotion, but the fact that the industry is taking anywhere from 250 to 400 leads to get one signing, and the brands that work with us are doing it in 60 to 70 leads, and they're getting better candidates, and those candidates are producing more royalty in the first 36 months. So maybe in short, maybe that's a long way to say that our services are all about getting a better return on investment from what you put into franchise recruitment. Everything from better ratios, because if you're taking 400 leads to get one signing, those numbers become millions of dollars very fast if you've got multiple brands. And if you're a small company, your millions might be, a few 100,000. It feels like millions to you. Um, but it's not. One difference with us is that we have brands who the goal this year is to sign 8. And we have brands where the goal is to sign 40 individuals on as new friends. So from sports clips to Brooklyn Robot, with 1,800 units to Brooklyn Robot Foundry and Jenny Young, the founder and CEO, who's on the phone with candidates every day doing step one calls out of New York. I mean, hence the Brooklyn. uh, but she, who's she was at 0 when she started with us. Now they're getting close to opening their 20th unit.
Oh,
And
good. Good.
over a couple of years,
We
yeah,
know Jenny.
those little success stories like that. So we don't believe that recruitment is just something that you have to have a lot of money for. We don't believe recruitment is something that just for the brands that already have 1,000 units. We think you can be successful at this, and we can help brands get to 20, 30, 40, 50 units. And then there's usually a glass ceiling around that point. We all know that. And then you break through. Kieran, our property management, Nate too, the CEO there, they hired on with us, or they joined us in 2019. They had about 30 offices across the country. This year, they'll end up with about 82, 83 offices on their way to breaking that 100, which we know less than 1% of all franchise companies ever get to 100 units opened. There are a lot of them that have sold way more than 100 units, but getting 100 units open. So that's at the end of the day, that's what we do. And we do it telling people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. So if they want truth telling, they work with us. If they want storytelling, go work with somebody else. We're going to talk the truth, and we're going to tell you what you need to hear. And they don't always like us, but I do feel like our brand partners know that at the end of the day, we care, and we want them to build their franchise company on a solid foundation and to do it right for the things that really matter.
That's great. So let's get into kind of the meat of some of the things that you hear. What is the most common diagnosis you see when a brand says we have a lead problem?
It might be the number one thing we hear. We'll say, well, why are you talking to us today? Well, we want to do better. What do you think your problem is? Well, we need better leads, or we need more leads.
More lead.
And Leanne, I know you help brands with that stuff. So if you had a dollar for every time somebody said that to you, you'd probably be retired right now
Right.
on or an island somewhere. Um, the Yeah, when we a part of it is the fact, lead problems. When somebody's talking about that, I'm going to set aside. I'm going to assume that their sales process, and this is a big mistake that our industry is really struggles with. We don't It's almost like we ignore the sales process. We think that it's all marketing. Marketing does not get a signed franchise agreement. Marketing just gets you in the batter's box for a little baseball talk. My Houston Astros are kind of slumping right now, but still leading the division. Uh, their marketing gets us in the batter's box. Well, marketing and appointment setting, not because the marketing appointment just really gets you the opportunity to get in the batter's box. There's a human element of appointment setting, and AI can help and assist, and we support that. But there's a human element to converting the person that raised their hand into even getting a chance to get into the sales process. We find so many brands, and I mean even big brands with significant money and super smart people. It's not that people aren't smart enough for this. Don't pay enough attention to the sales process. And so they don't separate that. But let's assume for a second that their appointment setting and their sales process, that the numbers flesh out, they're in the target ranges for conversion, so we'll put a check there. When they have a lead problem, it comes back to their the positioning and messaging of their brand. And we're not experts on that. We're not a marketing lead generation firm, but we can look at the data and we can tell them if they're off or on track with how that's working. Here's what I mean. You go out and you pick 10 franchises right now, and you go to their website, you look at you, and most of them have something like, who are we looking for? Who's our ideal candidate? And you start reading that criteria, and it says stuff like, people that want to be financially independent, people that want to get out of corporate America, people that want to live their own, live their dreams and be their own boss, right? All these very general statements that didn't basically, they could have been one of 5,000 US franchises. They all mostly say those very generic things. We believe in lead generation and marketing and advertising of your franchise brand for potential candidates should be more disqualifying. We even see brands that are scared to say, well, how low can we make that liquidity and that net worth so that we can attract the most people into the top of the funnel? We think that's wrong. We've got the numbers to support it. We think you should absolutely, in some cases, maybe even tell them the liquidity and net worth is more than you actually need to start the franchise. Why? Because when you go back and look at your last 20 or 30 franchisees that signed and the ones that are the most successful, if the average net worth of those people when they signed a franchise agreement is 1.5 million and their average liquidity was 500,000, even though they can get into your franchise for 150,000 and 30 or 40,000 down payment with their SBA loan, if you're finding that your best candidates that signed on at the time of their franchise agreement, and when they all have this data sitting in their files digitally or physically in paper, change your lead generation now and say, ideal candidate is somebody that has $1.5 million net worth and $500,000 liquidity. That doesn't mean they need that to start the business. But that's mind blowing to a lot of the brands we talk. They go, what? But that means we're going to have less leads coming in because people are going to see that. And we're saying, exactly. It's exactly what we're saying. We've had brands that were trying to sign 50 agreements that couldn't get it done on 10,000 leads a year. And 12 months, 15 months later, they were getting their 50 on 2,500 leads by employing a strategy and approach, not of what you need to get minimum needs to sign to get the SBA loan and to sign, but correlate it to who really is successful in your business. Maybe your $150,000 a year investment is a franchise concept that requires a lot of financial acumen. Well, people with $1.5 million net worth and $500,000 liquidity typically are going to show up already with a little bit more financial acumen than people that might have a $500,000 net worth and $150,000 liquidity. This doesn't make anybody right or wrong or better or worse than somebody else. We're talking about you're trying to win the Super Bowl. You're trying to complete your vision. You can't just put anybody on the field or the court. And we would say that would be ludicrous for any professional sports team to just recruit anybody. Mm-hmm. Trying to find the people that are going to get them into the championship, get them into the playoffs, give them a chance to win more games, and doing it by doing the things that need to happen over a season to put them in a better spot. But yet we as franchise companies oftentimes go out and we continue to treat this like we're just opening up the doors to the bus and saying, come on, everybody, get on. And there's very few concepts. There are some, but there's very few concepts that can really operate and fulfill their vision with those wide of doors. Narrow the doors a little bit. Don't be scared to really talk about who really makes it in your business. If it's somebody that you're finding, if you're finding your better performing franchisees have come to you with 5 years experience in B2B sales and managing a sales team, say it. Say it. You're not going to, yes, your lead count's going to go down because you're going to let people double check and disqualify themselves. But the flip side of that is that you're going to attract more of the people that really do have the 5 years B2B experience. But there seems to be a massive fear in our industry of taking that approach. And even our own brands that work with us, we continue to show them the data. They can see it get better. But then there's still the mindset, we need more leads. We're like what crack addicts, or we're on heroin or something, or opioid painkillers. We can't get off that track in our industry. So, but that's probably a longer answer than you wanted,
Leanne. Great.
No, that is great. So talk to me, in talking about the recruitment funnel, talk to me about red flags. What do you see that often goes unnoticed or maybe should be triggering concern?
It's a great question. Probably the start of the fact is that what's going unnoticed is, if you're not measuring it, you can't notice it. The first thing is that a lot of stuff goes unnoticed because executives don't have the reports and the metrics, the decision makers, even the recruiters or the appointment setters aren't getting the data they need to know what to improve. Assuming they do have that, biggest red flags would be that you have target ranges like, with, I know this probably doesn't show up, but we've got ROS ranges. So everything from lead to getting an appointment set. For example, in ROS, we say that 35 to 40% of all the leads that coming in the top of the funnel should schedule an appointment. Step 0, an appointment to a kept step 1 with a recruiter, the target range is 75 to 80% of those that schedule should keep that. So we know, and then you take lead to step 1. Overall, lead to step 1 out of all the leads that you come in ROS, these numbers weren't pulled out of the air. They all make sense. If you're in the range coming down with all of the metrics, you're going to be somewhere in a lead to step 8, a lead to signing ratio of about 1.2 or greater. We have a few brands that are doing 2%, which means 100 leads coming into the top of the funnel or 1,000 leads coming into the top of the funnel, you're going to sign 12 agreements. That's the minimum for us. We have some brands that are getting 20 signings out of 1,000 leads at the top of the funnel. Now, people say, well, wait a minute, Art. You go to any conference and you hear them talking about you should be getting 1%. They got to stop preaching that. The industry ratio is 0.25, a quarter of a percent, or 25 basis points to about 50 basis points, which means it's taking anywhere from 250 to 400 or 500 leads to get one signing. That's the truth. That's what's going on. So you take these young startups out there or these new people to franchising and they're beating themselves up because maybe they're getting 0.8. And the truth is they're beating the industry, but they're kind of told you're not. So, and I know some of this, now that I'm a supplier, I'm still having an identity crisis of being a supplier because I feel like a franchisor on that side. But sometimes we suppliers, kind of want a little bit of that fear going on in the industry. If we can create a story and we know nobody is getting 1% and we tell them that's what you should be getting as a minimum, maybe, it might cost me business. I mean, I've got somebody a little, if they know, I mean, we work with some publicly traded companies, big companies that have, and some of them, it's very common for them to be around 0.7, 0.8 on from lead to signing. So truth telling, again, is that if any brand is getting 1%, they probably don't need that supplier that's talking to them. They're doing a lot of things right. And we come across brands that we talk to that think they need us. And we say, we don't, you're doing a lot right. We do an analysis on them. We show the metrics and said, here's where we think we could help you, but keep going, doing what you're doing. So
Yeah.
that's really those conversion metrics, Michael. You got to have them. First of all, people are going to respect what you inspect, not what you expect. And most of the time, as a former CEO of a top 200 brand, oftentimes we would say what we expected as the CEO. Here's what we want you to do. We want to get 100 new signings globally across the country. Or as the founder of that small franchise, we want to go sign 20 this year. But if you're not inspecting the right things on a weekly, monthly basis, the behaviors won't match up with what it takes to really make that happen.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And so speaking on the metrics, I guess in your experience, which metrics do you see or tend think are more overemphasized, or which ones are maybe overlooked? Kind of as a perfect follow-up question there.
Lead to signing, the one we've already talked about, is so overemphasized because it's really meaningless. You can't make decisions from just the lead to signing ratio. Do we use it? We do use it. And we pay attention, but we tell all of our brands we teach all of our brands and executives, it's just a very macro look at the whole process from lead all the way to a signing. But if you're trying to make decisions based on that ratio, If that ratio isn't right, all it's doing is pointing you into, well, where's it wrong along the way? But we see so many, so that I would say that's the most number one overemphasized ratio is the lead to signing. The one that's the most overlooked, first one is the appointment setting. Lead to scheduled step one and kept step one. There's a vein of gold for your franchisors listening to it. Pull out your numbers and look what you've been doing the last. We measure that metric with our brands on the last 45 days. We look at the last 45 days. We look at the 45 days before that. All of our CEOs, CDOs, and executive suite get a weekly report Wednesday that shows up that measures that leads and then the ratio going to the appointment setting and how many step ones kept. Because you don't have to measure that every metric has a frequency. If you're measuring your lead to signing, you don't want to measure that over a 30-day period. It's got to match up with your sales cycle. If it's taking 90 days to go from lead to a signing, if that's your average, then you need to be measuring that lead at least over 90 days at a minimum, and maybe 6 months, and looking for the trends for lead to signing. The overemphasized one that I said, don't even pay attention to that one, other than it's just a nil snapshot to know where you can dive into the water first. But this appointment setting ratio and measuring lead to scheduled appointment, and you got to track it, and scheduled appointment to kept step one with one of your salespeople is golden. Nobody's measuring that, Michael.
Yeah,
They're
you
not.
know what? It actually makes a ton of sense. I see it on the and it's funny you mentioned Jenny. You know, she does a lot of our franchise trade shows as well. And so I guess for us, maybe it's common sense, but a lot of the times, even for the newer brands that come in, they don't know that you have gold right now. I tell them, you're here on the show floor, you're talking to someone, it's a qualified lead. Set up an appointment, set up a meeting right now, create a follow up if you can. You know, if not, you're going to follow up with them immediately after the show. But, you know, I guess it's just something that people don't and it makes so much sense what you're saying. You know, set up that actual appointment to be gold. Yeah, I mean, so it's just so funny seeing it on the show floor. You know, where a lot of brands they don't, some of them don't even know that they need to follow up. I mean, that's nor here nor there, but yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, at your conference in January, which, man, I just love, there was something so raw and natural about that. So y'all didn't ask me to do it, but I'm giving y'all a plug. If anybody listening to this has not been to Let's Grow, I think the registration has already been released. They can go sign up. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
I mean, go sign up today. It's going to be in Fort Worth again, isn't it? At the
Yep.
Marriott, same place as last
Yep.
year. I mean, that it just reminds me a little bit of the old days. And I don't mean to be that guy with the gray in his beard talking about the old days, but there was just a naturalness and a rawness to it that was very inspiring and invigorating. So even you old head executives out there running these big brands that want to get back in touch with what's really going on in franchising on the front lines, get your butt over to that Let's Grow session in Fort Worth. And a lot of you are sitting in the DFW area. I mean, you can
Right.
pop up, be at home at night, sleeping in your own bed. That's that it you know, seeing the fact that it wasn't 70% suppliers, and and y'all have been disciplined enough about really attracting a lot of this. I mean, there were a number of young brands there and people that are trying to live their dreams by taking their concepts and growing them. And it was a bit very inspiring. So I hope it's okay for me making a plug for y'all's Let's Grow event, because I think y'all
How
are on.
dare you?
Uh, but
Thank
Michael,
you.
you're right. That's a vein of gold, the appointment setting. The other one, this number two that's almost looked, is the S1 to S8 ratio. I'm using some ROS speak. S1 is that initial conversation with a salesperson, not a not a 15-minute call with a lead. That is not a step one. A step one is a 45 to 60-minute meaningful conversation about where this person is on their journey in their life and why they're looking into small business ownership, some version of that. And we train recruiters every day in our community about how to be better at doing that step one. But the ratio for a recruiter, that first one was for the appointment setting phase. We call that pillar two. The second most overlooked ratio is the S1 to S8, the step one call to a signing, whatever that step is in your system, whoever's listening. step 5, step 6, wherever the signing is. The reason why is because this separates the whole conversation about lead generation. This really zeroes in on how are your salespeople doing? And in ROS, you're measuring through that step 1 to step 3, step 3 to step 6, which in our system is application. Step 3 is application to discovery day. Step 6 to step 8, discovery day to signing. And again, right, we have all the targets ranges for each one of those. So, you know, am I within target? Am I below target? Because there's even issues and problems that come from being above target. Somebody may say, well, gosh, we're the target, top of the target's 35% with that conversion, and we're getting 45% conversion. We actually tag that yellow, and we explain to them why and what happens, how that creates other issues further down the line in the sales funnel. But that's the second most overlooked one, because it honestly, some of the salespeople don't like it. Some of the franchise people don't like the S1 to S8 because I don't know if y'all have noticed this, but a lot of us salespeople tend to think that we do it all right and that we have the magic touch, that there's no way that we're not perfect. The issue
Right.
has to be marketing. The issue has to be lead gen, or the issue has to be y'all are screwing it up because of the item 19. The support team isn't getting it right, or we bring them in for discovery day and you're messing it up. You're not putting your, what are y'all doing? And some salespeople are even like, I don't want the rest of the team talking to my candidate until they sign a franchise agreement. Big mistake. Those are big red flags.
Right.
Franchise salespeople don't sell franchises. Support teams and franchisees sell franchises. We just get the privilege of trying to get them, taking them properly through the process. We're a little bit of a tour guide. We're a little bit of a teacher. We're a little bit of a coach. We get to guide them. Sure, there's sales strategies and tactics and things that are required in that, but that's the second most overlooked one.
I love that. I love all of that because, of course, I'm in marketing and I work with these sales teams who I love, but it's misappropriated where the problem is.
Well,
And it
take
could
the
be both, but take a look at I hand you the lead, now what?
well, Leanne, you're getting back to the other problem that we see. You know, I talked about the lead generation piece. It's real common to hear that. Our industry, again, we are addicted to trying to find some kind of silver bullet. Franchise development and recruitment of franchisees, and I'll even throw in onboarding, getting them into their unit, getting them open, getting them up and running, getting them confident in the business model, getting them confident in we call it field ready, field confident, whatever brand it is. That is so complex. It's not hard to understand, but the complexities of actually getting it right in so many moving parts is frankly why we're talking about maybe 1% ever get to 100 units open. A fraction of 1% ever get to 200 units. You know, Christian Brothers Automotive is one of our brands that we work with, and they've been with us since 2017 or 2018. Donnie Carr, the CEO over there, Brad Fink, you know, who runs and is the executive over recruitment. And, you know, that when we started working with them, we were right around 200 units, a little less than 200 units. They just passed the 300 unit mark and on their way to being $1 billion brand. If there's any startup brands, people growing out there that want to know, you pay enough attention to the littlest things in your recruitment and what's happening in onboarding and training of your new franchisees. That's how you get to being $1 billion brand. And unit economics of $3.5 million per unit, right out of the item 19, average unit, average owner earnings of about $350,000. It's not by silver bullet. It's by rolling up your sleeves and going to work on all the little things. But you know what? Here's another thing. A lot of times, us salespeople run franchise companies. And sometimes we don't really like the details. Sometimes we want to guilty. I've been there. I mean, this is not, I mean, y'all met Jenny Langfeld. She's
Yeah.
my right hand. That lady is a professional. She understands the details. And only through over the years with very good mentors and them having to beat the stupidity out of Art Coley, the light bulb went off to say, yeah, franchising, you can be successful in franchising real fast. It usually takes about 20 to 30 years as a franchisor. You know,
Right.
success is overnight. And the ones that really do it right and win, I mean, how detailed in the little things is McDonald's?
Mm, right.
How detailed in the little, I mean, they're measuring how much salt goes on the fries,
Hmm.
the, milligram, right? So this franchising is not a line them up macro business. It is an insanely, but you have to be maniacal about the details and the little things that are going to make the difference.
So I know something that's really important to you as part of this whole Fran Dev process and the marketing that aligns with it is reporting and data collection. And how do you advise your brands to normalize the data collection across brokers, internal teams, external marketers? Like, how do you bring it all in so that you can look at the whole big picture? Because that's what informs decisions. Accurate, like better informs decisions. And I don't think enough brands are looking at the whole big picture. They're singularly looking at certain metrics. So what are your thoughts there?
And I'm guessing, Leanne, the question, you're talking about everything from lead gen, brokers, organic lead sources, the
Mhm.
internal teams, the budgeting component, the
Yeah.
financial investment, the external teams, if you're using an FSO or
Mhm.
1099 relations, which is real common in our industry. Talk to me a little bit more about what you in the normalizing that piece. Help me understand kind of what you're trying to get at so that I can try to hit the nail on the head here. Help me more with what you mean by that question.
So I think it's more just how do you bring all of the data in from the various sources and use that data to inform your decisions. So I think we look at and well, I've got a lot of questions that revolve around this, but I think we look at things singularly, like PPC didn't work because they did, whatever for whatever reason, they say PPC doesn't work. Well, maybe PPC is working, but it works alongside this, 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 and this. And so when you're looking at because there is no silver bullet or singular bullet, there is all of the things that come together in play to help create brand awareness, create a reason to call. But what is that data? How do you talk to your brands about the data and then using that data to inform decisions?
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yes, it does, Leanne. And I sure hope this doesn't sound arrogant or cocky, what I'm about to say, because I'm not meaning it that way at all. I'm saying it from modesty and humbleness. But I don't believe anybody's doing that as well as we are in the world.
Hmm.
What you just said right there in terms of and I might even be feeling this in this moment with you just asking it like that. You're not going to get it from your CRM.
Right.
A piece of it comes from the CRM. That doesn't discount CRM. I mean, we will not work with a brand that is not on a CRM system. And we're also CRM agnostic. We don't believe there's a silver bullet. Whatever CRM you're using can get you there. There are some that may be better for you, but there's no silver bullet. And we also see people on the CRM merry-go-round. Oh, we're using this one. We're going to change this other one because we're not getting what we need. And then they get on that one and they realize it didn't change
Hmm.
anything. We see people that they're not going to get it from their accounting or their QuickBooks or their Microsoft Dynamics, and all the we again very big brands. I won't mention any names on here, but you know these people, and some of them might hopefully are listening, and they're maybe getting a chuckle that behind the scenes they send their data over to us for us to put it into our format and analyze it for them. So they have the information, or excuse me, they have the data, they don't know how to turn it into information to make a decision. And there's a lot behind the scenes in terms of what we do with our algorithms, how we've developed those formulas for we have what's called Data Dash. It's our online intranet where the data goes in. Any of our brands, excuse me, even recruiters can log in to see their own metrics and their own ratios at any time. Um, so a part of it is how we collect the data and bring it in, that's going to be on everything from lead generation to appointment setting ratios to the financial analysis. And get this, Leanne and Michael, our reporting actually shows we have one of our reports in our reporting suite is measuring their investment in franchise recruitment to new franchisee performance over their first 36 months after signing a franchise agreement. So what we do is we take we take their investment, and then we look at what that unit has produced with that new franchisee, primarily in the royalties. We're looking at the royalty correlations. And we've had brands that weren't happy because one of their salespeople may have only been signing 8 to 10 new franchisees annually. And maybe their other salespeople were signing 15 to 20, or maybe the rock star was signing 20 to 25. And then they get the analysis to find out, where we look at how are those, everybody went through the same process. Everybody got the same training. Everybody went through the same onboarding. And then they'll take those 4 salespeople and realize the one that's selling 8 a year, their 8 are producing cumulatively more royalty over the next 36 months than that all-star that's signing 25 a year. If you're a private equity firm, if you're a CEO or you're a CFO, do you want to keep signing up these 25, or do you want to go get more of these packages of 8? It's not even a question. The ROI is off the charts. The rock star salesperson that's throwing 25 new franchisees into the boat every year is actually bogging down your onboarding and your support. You're wasting franchise recruitment dollars. You're wasting franchise support dollars. So we either need to work with this franchise sales rock star, him or her, to help that person understand they're just selling franchises. They're not recruiting trophy candidates. They're just selling franchises. And sometimes we can show that person the light and the switch, and also change. I mean, remember, people respect what you inspect and expect. So if you're telling everybody we want 20 plus, or your job's on the line, which is what we see, we pick up all kind of good recruiters every year for our other brands that somebody else let go because they were only signing 11, 12 franchisees a year, but they're signing people and putting them on the team that are delivering 2, 3, 400% more royalty than the rock star salespeople that are winning all the awards. They're usually the ones bragging at the bar about all the signings and the multi-packs that they signed over the last year. And then you say, if we go back 3 years, which they usually haven't even been with that brand that long,
Right.
but assuming they have been with the brand 3 to 5 years, and we can go back far enough and say, let's see how many of them opened, and let's see how much royalty they sent to the brand. No franchise company that listens to this is in the business and makes a living off signing franchise agreements. If we're in franchising and we're honoring it to its truth, then we are aligned, and our business as a franchisor succeeds and becomes worth more only because on the backs of our franchisees, what they were doing at the unit level works. And those unit economics are generating, they're sending bigger, fatter royalty checks back to the home office because their business is doing better. Mm. Because their business is doing, they're putting more money in their pockets. What company in the world has produced more millionaires than any other company? Michael, Leanne, do y'all know who that is? McDonald's.
Yep.
That's what franchising is about. And so, Leanne, when you talk about aggregating all those components together, it's reports like that. That's how we help our brands make those decisions. We start with the data, not just a select site that is measuring one metric, but throughout the entire process in those chunks. We can start macro that leads us to a micro, a little bit deeper, and then you can laser point in on that. You may find out this recruiter's issue. Listening to recordings, this and that, maybe that 2 or 3 changes and improvements with some 2 or 3 behavior changes and a couple skill sets that they improve on might completely turn the ship around in terms of what they're getting on people coming out of step 1, making it through the application. But again, that requires commitment. That requires massive diligence. Well, let's face it. I mean, you guys know now. I think on the top 200 on Franchise Times and the extra 100, I think it's something now like 65 or 70% of all those brands are majority owned by a private equity company.
Wow.
And let me tell you, some of the people that love us, adore us, and private equity firms aren't typically people that want to hug and give kisses and all of that, but they do because we start with the data. They love that. I mean, they're spreadsheet conscious.
Right.
And this mystery, everything else isn't a mystery in the business, but franchise recruitment, they never can quite get their hands on it. And when I mean, we're doing a global assessment right now for one of our brands who are owned by a private equity firm as of a few years ago. And the first 12 pages of this assessment, I'm going to finalize it after this call with you guys. They'll have it in their hands Monday morning. The first 12 pages of this assessment are nothing but charts and data over what they have a problem. They have a very big problem. But it isn't going to be just us telling them that piece. We're going to show them by the math. All of the words and the qualitative analysis and opinions and this and that, the qualitative stuff is the appendix. The heart of it is the quantitative. That's the language more and more in 2025. If you're not using data and analytics in every area of your business, you are a dying company or a dying leader or a dying, you're going extinct. It may be slow, it may be over the next couple decades, but you are absolutely falling behind and becoming extinct. You have to be able to get this, Leanne. And again, I don't believe anybody compiles that and makes it easier to show up on your desk consistently, because most of the time when you're wanting these reports, it turns into a massive project. And as the former CEO of a top 200 brand, it was so frustrating for me to every time I wanted that report, it turned into a 911 or a fire drill in the company to go get the data, or maybe the components that we needed were on 20 different hard drives, one on the cloud, or with this vendor has some data and this person has some data. And some of it's in finance, some of it's in onboarding, and some of it's in marketing. We take all that away and we put it right in the front of the decision makers so they have the information, not just the data, and the information in a format, Leanne, that they can quickly digest. And we give them insights and say, here's what we would think about. It's ultimately their decision, what they do, but we're putting them in the money. We're putting them around closer to the bullseye in a way that they really might spend months and still never be in that bullseye to even have the chance to make the right decision or a better decision that gives them an opportunity to win. Am I hitting on what you asked, Leanne?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, that was great. Well, we don't have a ton of time left, so I want to get to talking about the masterclass that you're offering at Let's Grow. But before I do, real quick, if a brand is serious about leveling up their recruitment process, what's step one? Call Art.
Well, only a step. That's maybe that's step 1B. Step 1A is acceptance. You have to be willing to be able to accept where you are today. That doesn't mean a weakness. That doesn't mean a failure. But we know Carl Rogers, the psychologist and therapist, said it best. Only in our gut where we can be brutally honest with ourselves, when we're ready to face whatever it is, whatever gap or void, whatever trouble we're having in our life. Only when we can deeply accept that, then can we change. Do we have the opportunity to change? So if they're calling us because they really still aren't accepting that they've got a problem, and they're willing. I mean, this almost sounds like a 12-step program, doesn't it? Step one, I admit I've got a problem. I'm willing to, I want to make a change in my life. So that's where leveling up starts, Leanne. Move the ego, the pride, the know-it-all attitude. You got to be willing to get back to kindergarten, brother and sister. We got to go to work and climb this up. And the first things, we've got to be truth telling about where we are. And whatever that means, maybe sometimes that's a son-in-law or daughter-in-law that's worked in the company. Maybe they're the right person on the bus, but they're in the wrong seat. Maybe there's something about the fact that you've been trying to get results on a $50,000 lead gen budget, and the truth is it's going to take a $200,000 lead gen budget. I mean, so truth telling has to be in the equation in terms of where you are and accepting where you are as it is right now. If you've got that perspective, give us a call. If you're still working on getting honest with yourself and your company, don't call us.
That's great. All right, let's talk about the masterclass.
Yes, we'll jump into that. Just a couple of quick questions. Tell us a little bit about the masterclass for executives. What exactly is it, and what will people kind of learn?
Well, I am so grateful and excited for you guys putting this on and setting room for it. And I have to say, little salesman in me here, but it's the truth. There aren't many seats. I think we've got maybe a couple dozen seats. So this is intense. And the reason why the seating is so small in this and the criteria, if you look at who we want and who needs to be in the room, please look at that on the website and check that out. And honestly, good. It's not because we don't want you or you don't have value. It's because you don't need to be in that room yet. Go over to the other stuff and get up to that spot. And that criteria is pretty solid about for this to work, people have got to be able to give an input is also receive. And so this really is a master class for recruitment. Executives, CEOs, chief development officers, VPs of franchise development, that manager level minimum and up of concepts that have got at least 20 plus units, at least 20 plus units. If you're not there, it's going to be over your head. Some of it's, you're not going to be able to apply this, but if you're investing money in lead gen right now, if you've got a team of at least 2 people that's dedicated to recruitment, that you're putting money into recruitment, you're investing dollars, and either it's working for you, but you want it to work better, or maybe it's not working for you and you want to make a change in 2026. Register right now today to be in that class. We've also got Michael, we're adding some pre-coaching before it coming in. Leanne, you were talking about the data. Oh man, I got to say this. You're going to come out of this class when you get there, you're going to have a complete packet of a data set. As long as you register in time and get your data to us, we're going to run the numbers on your brand. You're going to have a complete data pack for your brand that we're going to walk through at that session in January. What is that? January 30th? Is it Friday?
January 30th from
Yeah,
9 to 1 CST. Yep.
your conference is longer than that on the front end, and then you roll right into a franchise show, which
Right.
beautiful timing there. If you come into the master class, and then if you're participating in the show on the weekend, which I encourage brands to why not? If you're flying in for a plane ticket and a 1 night or 2 night hotel stay, and I mean, really, I encourage you to come to the whole conference. But that is that we're going to break this thing down. We've got 4 or 5 intense modules that we're going to climb into deeply on little hour segments. That is education, presentation, some education. Then we're going to talk about your brand in groups. Again, the room's only going to have a couple dozen people, and this is going to be a very intimate thought leadership, mastermind, training, education, insights, case studies, that binder that you're going to walk away with. I'm not exaggerating. I don't know what's the registration. If they don't do Let's Grow, if they do Let's Grow, I think the add-on is $500 or $600, isn't it? For the
Right.
just the data pack. I mean, we charge brands tens of thousands of dollars to do that. So for the 25 brands that are in the room, they're going to get that by being in there, and walk away with that piece. And I, Leanne and Michael, okay, here's the salesman in you. This is still truth telling. If somebody comes to this and they pay that fee to you guys to be in that room, and when they're finished with that room and they follow the coaching and everything, so after 90 days, because we've got some post coaching sessions with the group after that, I mean, it's insane value for the $600 or 900, whatever that is, if they just come to the master class alone. If they're not happy with it, they send me an email. I will personally cut them a check and reimburse them. That's personally, not Let's Grow or anything. I mean, Art Coley, I will personally reimburse. This is so get your registration in because this class is going to fill up, and you will not regret. For those of you that buy a plane ticket into Love Field or DFW, get your butt in that seat. If you meet the criteria on the registration page, you will not regret it. I promise you. I guarantee it. I'm putting my money where my mouth is.
So great. We're so excited to have you there, and thank you for collaborating with us on this. It really aligns with everything that we're trying to accomplish in the franchising space. And I think, we've talked about it before, but that we feel like we align with the mission that you're putting out there. And so we're just thrilled to partner with you on that. And I hope that everybody signs up, that we have a waiting room, standing room only.
Me too, Leanne and Michael, and y'all are already doing that. I mean, you look at how big the Let's Grow conference was last year, and y'all these groups that you're organizing around the country, and how y'all put that together at times works with the franchise shows, which creates economics and scale and opportunity for some of our franchisors. I mean, most franchisors are small businesses themselves. Most of our franchisors that we're with are not generating $10 million in EBITDA. We work with those too. But most of the franchisors across America and the world are small companies where how their business does depends on even their own family, what kind of vacation they take or where their kids take to the school. I think sometimes that's forgotten by our franchisees, that most of the franchisors, they're trying to figure out how to do all this stuff and support and improve training and improve technology. But I opened up with saying this, and I'll close with this on my end. What a honor we have to work in this industry. We get to work every day with people looking to change their lives, both franchisors and candidates and prospects, even if they don't sign a franchise agreement. The fact that they were willing and had the courage to get on the phone with one of these franchise salespeople, these scary salespeople, to talk about maybe changing their lives. We've got an obligation and responsibility to make sure that these people that come across our radar, whether they become a franchisee or not, and most of them will not. 9% or more of them, depending on the brand and their metric, will not become a franchisee. We have an obligation and responsibility that when we are done with them and they came across our brand's radar, that their life is a little better. They learned a little something. They got a little bit better. They got some clarity and vision about what they want in their life and how they could maybe go through about it with small business ownership, even if they decide never to do it. And sometimes the biggest benefit we help people with, or we give them, is the realization that maybe small business ownership isn't for them. But that turns them into becoming a better employee with what they do, or maybe realizing that their passion really is teaching and being in the classroom and working in that school district. But they sometimes by pursuing and looking into something, we all learn a little bit. It helps us become more of who we are and finding out what our true passion is. The last thing is this: Michelangelo. If you've ever been to Florence and you've seen David. Now, if you haven't been to Florence, most everybody's been to Caesar's Palace in Vegas. There's also a replica of David there in Caesar's Palace. So if hopefully we're cleary-eyed enough to be able to see the statue. But Michelangelo did not make David. Michelangelo chipped away what wasn't David. He started with a block of marble, and little by little, over a period of time, David came out of that block of marble. Might I suggest that all of us are some kind of block of marble as we come into this life? And all we're trying to do is chip away a little bit of who I'm not to get to who I am. And at 55 years old, I'm realizing, wow, when I thought I knew who I was in my 30s and 40s, now I'm realizing there's a lot more chipping away to do. And that's my job that's my responsibility to do that. We can help people with that come across our radar. It doesn't mean that we talk about kill the files, kill the lead, close the file, and sometimes there's even a little bit of attitude like that person wasn't good enough to become a franchisee in our system. I would suggest that's the wrong way to look at it. These were people that came across, and we had an opportunity to ask them some questions about who they are, where they are on their journey, and genuinely and sincerely help them. And the crazy part is when we have that perspective and we take that honest and sincere approach to do it the right way, isn't it crazy how we just end up being a little bit better at what we're trying to do and accomplish our mission? So I hope, I know I'm preaching to the choir with you guys, and I'm probably preaching to the choir of anybody listening to this. So maybe it's just a reminder to all of us, most importantly, just to myself, that that's what my job and responsibility is in the franchise industry. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for what y'all do and making a difference in our industry, and for having me on. It's a sincere honor to be here with you.
Thank you
You bet.
so much, Art. And I have been to Florence, and that is quite the spectacle, I do have to say. Unless you've seen it with your own eyes, the statue is unbelievable. But
Michael, I don't know how you can look at that, David, and not get a little of that.
yeah, Really
Really
is.
think about it, how beautiful that is. That somebody carved that out of marble if it doesn't move tears to your eyes, and you're not alive, man.
It's unreal. But yes, thank you so much for touching a little bit on the masterclass. For anyone listening that might want to check it out or join, you can go to franchiseassembly.com and get a little bit more information. But more importantly, Art, if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way? Should they
Yeah.
reach out on LinkedIn or go to your website, or what's the best?
LinkedIn, they can go to cgifranchise.com. My cell phone number is area code 281-658-9409. Shoot me a text. I schedule my own appointments if I need to. If you want to talk, I'll talk to anybody. This industry's been so good to me. My email address is acoley@cgifranchise.com. And I'm pretty sure my cell phone and email is also on our website. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just shoot me a text and say, hey, Art, heard the podcast, or wanted to talk to you more about the masterclass and kind of what I would get out of that. And if it's for me, go register though. Visit that site. Either go make a decision if it's for you. If it's for you, then register. If not, at least look at it and determine it's not for me. And then that decision is either checked or not. But if you read that, you're like, man, I think this is something that would benefit me, then please register today. Get in that. Don't miss your opportunity. And then I'd love to get a notice. I know Leanne, Michael, y'all will be letting us know as people register this and that, because I'm going to send you a note. We're going to get as soon as you register, we're going to get you in the cycle of starting to get prepared so that we get the absolute most out of those hours on Friday, January the 30th.
Love it. Thank
So
you so
excited.
much, Art, and we'll catch you soon. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Art. We are so excited about that recruitment masterclass. It's going to be a great addition to Let's Grow in Fort Worth in January 2026. Speaking of places that we're going to be, here's our Franchise Mingle segment, sponsored by the National Franchise Show. So in the fall, Michael, you've got a lot of shows coming up. September, you've got Denver and Detroit. October, you've got Atlanta and Phoenix, and Tampa, kicking off Tampa Franchise Week. And then in the spring, you've got New York, New Jersey, Dallas, Cleveland, Houston, Chicago, Orlando, New England, Providence, Boston, Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Portland. You've got a very busy spring coming up with the National Franchise Show. Coming up for other things besides the National Franchise Show, we've got the FBR Ops Summit, one of our favorite events in October in Austin. Franchise Marketing Live, November 2nd through 3rd. Hello Mastermind Fall Retreat, November 4th through 5th. Let's Grow Franchise Growth Assembly in Toronto, December 3rd through 4th. And Let's Grow Fort Worth, January 27th through 29th, 2026. This episode is brought to you by Subtle Strauss, Franchise Marketing Live, Franchise Assembly, the National Franchise Show. Thank you. Michael, you have anything to say?
Goodbye, folks.